So one of the things that we got for the new batch of updates for character duels is Ultimate Fusion for specifically the Kaiba deck. The deck previously could already play Effect Veiler as the limit 1 slot, but now they have another option, which I think Ultimate Fusion is a better limit 1 card than Effect Veiler for this deck most of the times. And this card just gives this deck more options to interrupt your opponent during their turn, and also just gives the deck a more solid follow-up in cases where you don't do the full board, where you have a way to send Whitestone of Ancients, for example. Sometimes you just don't have access to the Whitestone, and this gives you a really good way to recover when your blue eyes are all in your graveyard. And so this is a low grade version, it's not grade 5, I'm only using 3 graded cards, I'm playing 1 draw spell as more consistency to send the tuners from your hand. I'm playing the 1 ultimate fusion, this is both good for interrupting your opponent by just having it set and then using it during your opponent's main phase to pop their stuff, and also just good when you are going second to give you more pushes to make a fusion to attack. And we also have a copy of Black Rose Moonlight Dragon, which is part of the previous character drill update. It lets you bounce a monster when it's special summoned. Notably, it can trigger its effect when it is special summoned and not synchro summoned, which means the way you activate it is by tagging out with Blue Eye Spirit Dragon, which can tribute itself to special summon a light dragon synchro. And this is a card that you can summon during your opponent's turn to be able to bounce one of their boss monsters as a form of interruption. And because we now have another way to fusion summon other than the free poly that the skill gives you, you can spend another grade on a second copy of Twin Burst, so you can fusion summon one with the normal poly, and then you can use the ultimate fusion later on to make a second Twin Burst as interruption or just for more bodies on your field. So that's probably the changes you can make to this deck, otherwise the deck is already pretty good in of itself. And the main problem with this deck is still that the deck is not very consistent because it's a Blue Eyes deck without a consistency skill. It has the same issues with the deck back in 2022, 2023 when this version of the deck is meta in the actual format of Speed Duels. But this is still one of the best decks that you could play in character duels, I think, because when you don't brick, the deck does just can pretty much punch over anything your opponent has, and also has really good defense from the Hallowed Life barriers, and can draw it pretty easily with the draw spells, and can OTK your opponent pretty easily just by having a lot of blue eyes on your field. So yeah, let's have a look at some replays. Alright, first replay, we are playing against the best deck in character duels, which is the Utopia deck. So turn going first, if we draw Hallowed Life Barrier is extremely simple, we literally just set the trap and pass turn. Even if you have more plays, if you have like a way to summon a Blue Eyes or like Sage, you still only set the barrier and pass because you don't want to commit to the board too much for your opponent to break. You want to only have the set trap so that your opponent cannot remove any of your cards, and you have follow-up for next turn. So our opponent knows that we probably only have a set Hallowed Life barrier, so he's not going to even try to go for a line to OTK. He's just going to make Cowboy in defense to try to get in for some chip damage. But Hallowed Life Barrier also prevents effect damage, so we can use that when he tries to burn. We'll summon a Dragon Spirit of White during the end phase to banish the one unknown set. He can try to negate with Force Focus, but we can tag out in response, so that the effect still goes through. We get rid of his Hallowed Life Barrier, so that we can use the Blue Eyes to punch over one of his XZs. Our hand is still not very good, we only still have the the one single blue eyes, but our opponent also ran out of gas. So we can use our second life barrier to protect our one blue eyes. And then next turn we drew the Sage, so we can just go for the Synchro line. Our opponent uses the effect of Force Focus, which I really don't care. I'm not planning to use the effect of Spirit Dragon this turn anyway. And when our opponent tries to attack our Spirit Dragon, we can just tag out into an Azure Eyes, and now the game is pretty much over. All of our monsters are protected by the effect of Azure Eyes. We can revive back the Spirit Dragon, we can banish his unknown set, and we even have the Melody of Awakening Dragon, so we can even summon a copy of Alternative, we can even fusion summon if we want. This is way more than lethal, so we just go in and win the game. Alright, in our second game we were playing against Jack Atlas, like the second best deck in the format, arguably the first if you think that way. That is also valid. The deck is really good. Again, we have the one Hallowed Life Barrier, so we are just gonna set it and pass turn. I think the 0 grade Jack Atlas deck is slightly better than the Yuma deck just because it has all the access to the good quick play spells like MSC and Book of Moon, but honestly, both decks are really good. So we'll not activate Hallowed Life Barrier immediately at the beginning of the turn. We want them to waste a removal on the trap card before we chain it. So when our opponent tries to MST our trap card, just like right now, we can chain the Hallowed Life Barrier to make them basically waste their removal. And then now we are guaranteed to not lose. So the correct thing to do for him right here is actually to just make Red Rising Dragon and then summon 3 tuners and then pass turn, because that lets them have enough follow-up for next turn, because you know they don't burn through their resources in a turn where they couldn't attack. And also they have 4 bodies on the field to prevent me from going in for game and also gain life points at the same time. So going for a copy of Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Bane here is, I think, not the right thing to do. But he's gonna do that anyway. I don't know why he didn't even revive the Red Dragon Archfiend, because it's pretty easy for him to just go effect of Archfiend Bane, tribute the Force Resonator, revive back the Red Dragon Archfiend, and then attack. Even though he doesn't deal damage, that prevents the effect of Red Dragon Archfiend in the end phase to blow up his own monsters. So that is probably the second best thing he could have done if he doesn't decide to go for the Red Rising 4 monsters pass line, but whatever, that's also okay. We'll summon the Blue Eyes, we can go Sage, grab a Stone for us to discard for our draw spell, and then now we can start Synchro Summoning. We can make the Spirit Dragon, we can go Melody of Awakening Dragon, grab ourselves both the Alternative and the Blue Eyes. This is when I realized that he has a delay, which you couldn't tell in this replay because it is a replay, but a really big tell in an actual game of character duels is when your opponent has a delay when they have no set cards and nothing to activate in the graveyard. That pretty much only means that they have an effective Veiler in hand, because I don't think there's any other card that has a quick effect in hand in character duels. So immediately I know that he has a Veiler in hand, so I'll try to force it out using the alternative White Dragon to try to pop the Archfiend Bane. If he doesn't have Veiler, you won't even try to activate the effect, because that prevents me from attacking. So what you would do instead is just poly, make Twin Burst, and then Twin Burst attack twice on both of his monsters, and then attack with both Spirit Dragon and the alternative. But because I know he has a Veiler, we'll try to force it out using the copy of Alternative White Dragon to attempt to pop his monster, and then now we can use the poly to make the Twin Burst, attack both of his monsters, crash into the Bane, take a bit of damage but banish it. And because even though he negated our Alternative White Dragon, the activation still went through. So this card says this card can attack the turn this effect is activated, and effect Veiler negates the effects of a monster and not the activation. So even though the effect got negated, we still cannot attack with the alternative White Dragon. So in case you're wondering why we didn't attack, that's the reason why. So now we're in a really good position. So he has follow-up in the form of Wandering King Wildwind, but we have the Spirit Dragon to negate that. And even if he still has gas to make more Synchro monsters, we can tag out with the effect of Spirit to make the Black Rose Synchro monster to bounce that back as well. So he's just going to disconnect and we will win the game. So thanks for watching. I hope this gives you an idea on how to build a Blue Eyes deck, and goodbye.